bring on one of our favorites, Thor Nystrom. You can follow him on Twitter at ThorKU, Fantasy Pros and Betting Pros, where you can get all of his content. So, Thor, we've got 7 games. A lot of these games kind of in the weeds, so to speak. But let's start with Notre Dame Navy. It's the first game on the schedule over in Ireland. According to weather reports, could be some rain in the forecast over there in Dublin. So the totals actually come down to 49 today. Spread sitting at 20.5 between the Irish and the midshipmen. And before I get your thoughts on this, what's interesting about that total, the last 12 years, the average score in these games has actually been 62.3. So these games trend more over than you would think, but the market disagrees.
And so do I. And I don't need the rain or the wind or whatever. I would still like that under. This is the first I'm hearing that it's toggled down today. I'm happy about that because the ticket I got is significantly higher than that. I didn't really understand the number, to be honest with you. First of all, people out there need to know the NCAA went to a new clock change rule this year where it's going to be running after the first downs. That's not going to affect the teams that are bombs away quite as much. The teams that move the ball down the field methodically, you're really going to see extra clock burned off, which is going to lead to suppression of plays, ostensibly leading to slightly lower scores in those games. That certainly describes both of these teams, particularly Navy, but I think Notre Dame as well. I love the under. Both these teams have new offensive coordinators. Both these teams last year played at some of the slowest pace that you have in the nation. I think Notre Dame was 114 in adjusted tempo, and I think Navy was like 125. Notre Dame merely promoted their tight ends coach to be offensive coordinator. You're going to get a similar system out of them. And Navy went to Kennesaw State's offensive coordinator. That might be looked back upon as dubious. Kennesaw State went from like 11-2 the year before to 5-6 last season. The Kennesaw State offensive coordinator, he's a disciple of Paul Johnson, a flexbone guy. Well, all the flexbone teams are moving away for the flexbone outside of Air Force, but we'll see how that goes for them this year. But Army's going to the spread option and different stuff like that. Notre Dame's defense against that, I don't think Navy's going to give them too much problems. And you're mentioning the elements too. It's just another reason to go under.
Yeah, we will see. A lot of interesting angles to look at in that game. And we talked about last year, Shaun, the second half, which Notre Dame accounted for 20 yards after zero blitz or cover zero was thrown at them.
This is interesting for me because I'm actually laying the points with Notre Dame. I thought Brad Powers brought up a good point. I think it was Brad when he talked about, not Brad, it was, is it Munson? Who covers the Notre Dame we had on?
Pete Sampson.
Pete Sampson. He brought up a good point. Notre Dame's experience in their defensive front seven. So these are guys that have been in college. They've seen a whole bunch of different schemes. I think they're going to present a lot of issues for Navy. And you have to remember this is the best quarterback Notre Dame's had in a long time. And really, to me, the only thing that's been missing from them taking the next step is elite quarterback play. So I'm going to lay the 20.5 with Notre Dame. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But I think Notre Dame's a team that's going to be valued differently after they have this standalone game for the entire country to see.
Yeah, and you guys know I'm big on Notre Dame this year. I'm over on their 8.5 win total. Your point's well taken about the defense. They have a really good front seven. They have a really good defense overall. I think 8 starters return on that defense. Definitely a top 10 national defense. And then let's say, Shaun, we get into that scenario you're talking about. We're early fourth quarter. Notre Dame's up by 3 touchdowns plus. They're yanking out the starters on offense. Why in Ireland in the elements are you going to keep those guys out there? So yeah, you're going to deflate the ball to the end.
We're talking to Thor Nystrom, our guy at ThorKU. Always love picking his brain when it comes to college football. The other game with a ranked team is USC San Jose State. We haven't really talked about it a whole lot because the point spread is 31 or 30.5. Look, I was forcing a play for the podcast we did earlier today, but the thought of basically, I know I'm getting a bad number, Thor, but I looked over, and I know it's at 66 now, which is astronomical, but San Jose State lost a pro in Fehoko, lost, defensive player of the year from 2020, lost their leading tackler, and all they do well is offense, and USC does well at offense. So, for me, I think we could see a lot of points, but it is a lot of points, obviously, seeing their 66. What do your numbers say about San Jose State and USC?
Yeah, I got USC minus 34.5, and the total I have on that one is 64. But your point's well taken about San Jose State's defense is going to stink this year. Where they're returning experience on the offensive side, with Cordero and those guys, I expect their offense to be pretty solid this year. But yeah, the defense is going to fall off a shelf and stink. And USC defense, they're going to have to prove it to me until I know that they can tackle. And then if the luck goes away this year for USC's defense, they could fall precipitously from even where they were last year because of all the turnover luck. So I don't necessarily disagree with that one. That game for me is more of a prop game.
Mm-hmm.
I already have some of those guys and some of my prop tickets and different stuff like that. So the running back for San Jose State, I thought his number got dropped a little bit low on Prize Picks
Robinson.
today. It's like 40 yards. Yeah. So I went over on that and a couple other ones, but yeah, I mean, it's pretty close to the numbers, but yeah, if you had to force one, I don't have a problem with the over.
And I like it because when you look at San Jose State's early schedule, SC, Oregon State, Toledo, he's going to be trying to get this new group, Cordero, the quarterback included, prepared for conference play. So this will be a situation where if it's a 4-touchdown game, I still think San Jose starters will be in the fourth quarter, coach trying to get some positive things on film, get some confidence. So I think if it's close or late, San Jose State's still going to be playing the right way because even though they have a tough non-con, it can get them prepared for the Mountain West schedule.
Yeah, for sure. And when you're thinking about the thing of like, oh, we got to pull our starters in the fourth to prevent injury, you don't really have that thought played USC's defense with the pillow fighting going on. You just leave them out there and run up 200 yards of total offense in the fourth quarter. Get some confidence for the next game.
I hope so. Let's pile on some points there. Maybe they're still mad about the Tulane game. I don't know. Let's get a 49-21 game and let's
Sure.
go home happy there. Thor Nystrom joining us here. Thor, of the other 5 games, do you see an edge one way or the other when it comes to a side or the total?
I do. I like UTEP in their game against Jacksonville State to kick it off. A month or so ago, or whatever, it was Jacksonville State was the favorite, and that thing has changed. The market's correct on that. My number is UTEP minus 4.4. I don't know. I've listened to some other smart people that are a little bit out on UTEP. I don't really understand why. 2 years ago, UTEP goes 7-5. They have their breakthrough season. Last year, they went 5-7. They were within an eyelash of making a bowl game. They had a couple near misses, particularly that last game against, what was it,
UTSA. Yeah.
Where they were up 24-0, and then UTSA roared back. But the thing is, UTEP returns just about everyone. Hardison is back. He's a 3-year starter. Deon Tankins, they call him down there, the sledgehammer. He's back. He's healthy. He's going to run for a lot of yards this year. Tyron Smith, who had over 1,000 yards receiving last year, went to Texas A&M for spring ball, and then's like, yeah, I'm going to go back to El Paso. So they have him back too. They probably have the best offensive line in the conference as well. And I think they have the best front 7 in that conference outside of MTSU. Middle Tennessee, you guys remember, is really good at stuff in the run last year. But I really like that team. Their biggest weakness last year was their secondary, but they went out and addressed it. They signed 5 different guys in the portal, including one guy who's guaranteed to start immediately. I like that team. This is Rich Rod's debut coming back, Jacksonville State's debut in the FBS. I know the crowd will be into it as many fans will show up for Jacksonville State, UTEP, but I just think this UTEP team is an absolute bowl team. And I don't know about Jacksonville State can't pass. Their quarterback Zion Webb last year had a 10-9 TDI&T rate, one-dimensional offense. So I'm definitely going with UTEP there. Again, the front 7 being able to address the spread option that Rich Rod does. The other one I like, big underdog, I like Hawaii plus 17.5 going to Vanderbilt. That Hawaii team got decked the first 2 games last year. I don't think that people realized down the stretch they were like 9-3 against the spread. Hawaii was, in the last or 9-2 in the last 11 games. They played really hard. Brendan Schrager, their quarterback, was playing much better down the stretch. I like that team to give Vandy a scare.
Thor, always appreciate it, man. Great stuff.
Appreciate you, boys.
Go to VSiN.com/subscribe to become a VSiN Pro subscriber today.